While humans are extremely resilient and highly adaptive, most therapists have no idea how damaging the assumptions they have get to be for their patients. We tend to assume that we know what's going on in their minds or what's best for our clients or our patients as therapists, hypnotherapists, or patients. But most of us don't even have either the clarity of mind or the requisite training and experience with speaking and coming from a neutral stand that is necessary for making sure we don't interject, we don't inject, we don't put in more than is necessary, and that we don't end up making worse assumptions for our patients than they're already making for themselves. What very often I've seen happens in practice, especially with new therapists or hypnotherapists or coaches, is that they assume, with the little experience they have, what's best for people, and they, without knowing it, come from that place and then speak from that place and end up incorporating into the personality and performance matrix of a patient more limiting beliefs than they began with. And so, to me, this is an invitation to, first off, really learn what it's like to come from a neutral standpoint, to see how things actually are, rather than how we perceive or delude ourselves that things are, to come from what is actually there to be seen, rather than from what are delusions or illusions of how things should be and how things seem to be, and to come from a clear enough mind and enough presence to actually be able to see what's truly there, and from there to begin to truly help our patients. And so I guess this highlights for me the importance of learning stuff like clean languaging, where you're able to extract from patients their own internal metaphors, their own internal understandings, which they may not even understand or know. You're able to extract how they see things, how they perceive, how they feel things inside, without them even at first being able to verbalize this or even understand that they see it. But it's such a revelation for patients to actually come from this clean space that you allow for in clean languaging, where they're actually able to see how things truly are internally. And if you allow your patients to voice this out and you elucidate it, and you have a process for actually getting this from them, for allowing them to bring this out in the open, you allow the possibility for a clean break, clean change, where you don't enforce your beliefs on a patient, where you allow them to come from such a positive, clean internal space that they understand for themselves that they can manage things for themselves. And that's a very strong place to come from, for you to allow your patients to build from an existing anti-fragility, rather than having them rely continuously on an external force, a deus machina. It's so much better for patients to see a strength, a resilience, an adaptability in themselves than to have them have to rely on you, no matter how great a therapist you think or delude or believe yourself to be. And so I hope this kind of makes sense as my way of explaining why I'm such a fan of coming from a good, clean, neutral space where we're not trying to enforce our own judgments or morality on our patient, because that exists, that's there, that's present, where we don't insist on projecting our own follies and weaknesses on our patients, because people are resilient on their own. People have a strength on their own, and it's our duty to see that in them, not falsify it, not to over-positivize ourselves, but to actually allow for a clean space for that to actually come out. Our patients are heroes within, and it's our duty to allow them the safe space for them to see that for themselves. So they see that the person who carries them forward, the person they can rely most on once again, is them. They themselves. And there's no more powerful place to come from, where you actually see that you, for a fact, you're strong, you're adaptable, you're resilient, you're anti-fragile. That's built in. That's a gift of the way you were built, of the way you were made. and I hope this helps going forward. Ask me if you've had any questions regarding clean languaging and coming from a clean, neutral, good space as a therapist, hypnotherapist, or coach. Cheers.